This video contains spoilers for HBO's House of the Dragon. I would be very upset if the actress for Rhaenyra, Phoebe Campbell, received backlash for the crap writing coming from the writer's room. So clearly, just like with Sansa, there is an issue that the showrunners have with adapting the sisters of the Arya and Bella wild and willful types and allowing the sisters to be different, yet powerful in their rights with their own storylines and personalities. This is an ongoing issue with writers nowadays taking away feminine or more gentle-leaning traits from characters, and under the impression those traits make them weak or boring, which is not the case. They don't know how to write characters like Sansa and Rhaenyra, so they alter their personalities and plot points, which just ends up ruining the characters and annoying the audience. So let me explain why Rhaenyra and Nettles are not interchangeable, and HBO attempting to do that ruins the end of the series. These two are almost complete opposites. Unfortunately, the show is giving off fan fiction vibes when the most popular fan base who scream out what they want are given fan service in the form of forced relationships. Background characters with no importance being given too much screen time and made-up traits. And now we have important characters like Nettles getting reduced or possibly completely erased. There's been set releases actually showing two different black women who are wearing styles that look like they could be a stand-in for Nettles until there's an actress cast for season 3. So if Nettles is still in the show, but Rhaenyra is riding her dragon, this just creates unnecessary problems. After the setup we got in season 1 where Rhaenyra is telling her mother Heleana that her father ignores her and she feels bad about it and doesn't want to be left behind and separated from everyone else. They could be going the route of creating drama between Daemon and Rhaenyra. It could be a storyline where once again Rhaenyra is feeling like she's being sent away by her father because she's not as loved as her older sister Bella since she doesn't have a dragon. She did not get sent away from Pentos, but this time during the dance she's actually getting sent away to the Eyrie to be with the Lady Jane Eyre. This plot leak could be hinting at Rhaenyra feeling bad about being sent away, and she wants to prove herself that she's just as capable as Bella to gain her father's affection. Maybe she ends up seeing Sheepstealer on the way to the Vale before or after Bella drops her off and she attempts to claim him but fails. Afterwards at the Vale, she hears that another girl has successfully claimed Sheepstealer and her father is now giving this girl gifts, taking this girl everywhere with him, and spending a bunch of time with her. This would obviously make Rhaenyra feel bad. I don't fully agree with this if this is the case because Daemon and Rhaenyra, according to the histories, do not see each other again because Daemon actually ends up being busy with the war and then dying. Maybe they plan on inserting a meeting between them for reconciliation and closure, and Rhaenyra shows her father that she's hatched the dragon or has done something politically huge in favor of her side that he can be proud of. So obviously, some locations and timing would have to be altered for that to happen. Otherwise, Daemon just dies with a bad relationship between him and his daughter. Some people have been advocating for Nettles to be cut since season 1 aired for various reasons, like fans of Rhaenyra wanting the show writers to fight her battles for her, such as removing characters that don't support her instead of just showcasing the story for what it is. I've seen them advocate for other dragon seeds like Hugh to also be cut since there are dragon seeds that end up turning on Team Black. So essentially wanting an entire group of characters and an entire plotline to be removed in order to make one character have less issues to deal with. The problem here is that Rhaenyra and Nettles are not interchangeable, and this makes no sense. Let me explain why. I don't like how people try to defend characters they like by insulting other characters like Rhaenyra. I've seen this a lot with those who want more screen time for their faves, and insisting that Rhaenyra just shouldn't be allowed to be written like a normal character. As if the point of the show isn't to show up Targaryens on screen, and Rhaenyra is in fact a Targaryen. Rhaenyra is absolutely important to the story, and I would say the most overlooked and underrated. So other than the obvious location differences between Rhaenyra and the Vale and Nettles at Dragonstone and flying around with Daemon, there's deeper reasons they should remain separate characters. First off, I don't believe that Nettles is the bastard daughter of Daemon. I don't believe that she has any Targaryen or Balerion blood at all, and I think this is the purpose of her character. Obviously, she exists before the Game of Thrones timeline with people like Tyrion, who some say was allegedly being set up to ride a dragon despite him not being a Targaryen. Daemon is intrigued by Nettles because she's different. Not different like Rhaenyra, like being more gentle and subtle than the typically fierce and obvious Targaryens, but different in a Westeros way. Just like Brienne with Jaime, Nettles is described as very unattractive, not because she's actually ugly, but because she's not the ideal beauty in Westeros. Her having a scar on her face just doubles down on that point. Obviously, almost all Targaryen women are described as totally beautiful, including Rhaena, and on top of their beauty, they are granted the status that comes with being highborn royalty. Rhaena is in the Vale receiving amazing treatment. They're gifting her, writing songs about her beauty. They're making gowns for her and throwing balls, while Nettles is engaged in the war and the Maesters are writing about her and describing her as less than attractive. Nettles has what she has during the dance as a result of her having to sacrifice and fight for it. She put time and energy into getting Sheepstealer, which was not easy. She's an orphan, so she's used to running around and stealing, and she obviously is not the best dressed. No one is making gowns for her or protecting her the way that someone like Rhaena has knights to defend her. So this difference in being highborn versus lowborn is huge and makes it easier for Rhaena and Nettles to have much different personalities. Rhaena definitely gives off the vibes that she's a little sheltered, despite being the daughter of Daemon and granddaughter of Rhaenys. She's gentle, more on the calmer side, closer in her behavior to her mother, as Abella is leaning towards their father. Rhaena has been shown in multiple fight scenes instead of joining in on the fight when things got too much. She's the one in the scene trying to break it up. This was basically overlooked by most show watchers that Rhaena tried to get Jace to not stab Aemond, and Rhaena was shaking her head at Aemond trying to get him to not hit Jace with the rock. Despite the fact that she was upset at how he took the dragon that held sentimental value to her and said she should ride a pig, she still didn't want a violence to go too far or to exacerbate it. We then have the dinner scene where obviously Bella and Aegon are getting their rivalry being set up, and in the background you can see Aegon approaching, trying to egg Bella on and touch her. She was getting ready to fight him, and Rhaena getting in the middle and stopping Bella. So, at no point during the book dance outline do we see anything other than this type of personality being given to Rhaena. Nettles herself is not as quick to jump in the fight as Bella is, I think maybe because of her slightly older age and her seeing how rough the world is compared to Daemon's daughter. She's not antagonistic, but she's also not the one to break up the fights. So when she's with Jace in battle, she's involved in the fight, helping out and she's with Daemon, she's helping out and joining in, but she's not advocating for the fighting to stop. Rhaena not wanting fights and turmoil to continue is doubled down on even after the dance, because Rhaena is actually married to Garmund Hightower, Hightower being the Green family. There was no indication that this marriage was unhappy or anger towards them. Rhaena and Nettles' location is almost completely opposite. Rhaena starts out in Pentos and ends up in the Vale, Dragonstone, King's Landing, and then off to her married life. Nettles ends up at Dragonstone, temporarily at King's Landing, flying around with Daemon. Then she goes to the Vale, and it's hinted that she goes to Pentos or another place in Essos. The Vale in this case is giving off that is kind of a separation location, so the characters that go there are not really interacting with other main characters. So when Nettles is interacting with other characters during the dance, Rhaena is minimally involved with people in the Vale. She has almost no interactions with other Targaryens. The complete opposite now, with Rhaena going to King's Landing after the dance, and she has her dragon, so she's able to actually fly from King's Landing to Dragonstone. At this point, the people love her. She's the darling of the city along with Abella. She's always around people working to feed the poor and greeting the royal guest. Helping her brother, she's flying to Dragonstone and being seen there. Meanwhile, Nettles is in the Vale. Once again, the Vale is separating her, so at this point, Nettles' sightings are questionable and rumors because, once again, very minimal interactions with people, but she was seen in the mountains of the Vale. So these characters also have lots of parallels to Game of Thrones characters, such as Rhaena. Being so similar to Sansa and having lots of similarities to other highborn female characters, while Nettles is a parallel to Brienne. No one would ever claim Sansa and Brienne can be the same character. This is how ridiculous the Rhaena-Nettles theory seems to me. Jaime was popular in Game of Thrones, but Daemon is completely the most popular character. This was before the release of Season 1, and this will be after the series ends. So characters that impact Daemon, especially at the end of his life and the end of the series, have a more important reason to not have their stories changed. Rhaena being different than Bella is an important topic to me also. They are supposed to be almost opposite of each other, but still getting along. Bella, a dragon, having the name Moondancer. Rhaenyra's being mourning and their personality and looks being slightly different with hair length and outfit types. In Season 2 promos, we can see Abella is leaning more towards her fighter personality. She's dressing up in dragon riding clothes, and she's getting physically involved with the fights. She's included in the Battle of Rook test, and even a shot of her has Bella aiming a crossbow at someone. So, obviously, with Bailey's character, she's supposed to be very aggressive, wanting to be more proactive in supporting her family. She seems more willing and prepared than her sister at the beginning of the war. So I think, like with Sansa, Rhaenyra is supposed to grow throughout the series, and we're supposed to see her evolve. Despite what some people claim, this does not make her character less important. It's just a difference. Two characters can do two different things and still be interesting and important. We've already seen it hinted that with Rhaenyra from the episode 10 finale. Rhaenyra going to the Vale is actually politically important, and I think her character is much better off playing the Game of Thrones instead of fighting. We already have characters like Rhaenys Daemon, Jace, Nettles, Cregan, Stark. Because the purpose of the show is to portray a war, we already have multiple characters who are physically fighting and can have cool battle scenes. But I think we have limited characters who are moving chess pieces with mental intelligence instead of only physical veracity. There needs to be a variety of the type of Targaryen characters we have because everyone can't be doing the same thing. We also need POV. So I saw a great post on Reddit where someone was saying that both Daeron and Rhaenyra would make great POV characters in order for us to see politically what's going on in the realm away from our main characters like Aegon and Rhaenyra. This is not a change to Rhaenyra's character because the book is an outline, but really showing her be politically active in the Vale is only expanding from what we already know about her. So this is not inventions or girl boss rewrites. This also keeps Nettles where she is, and Rhaenyra doesn't take away from Bella by having her personality be moved closer to her sisters. And we get to see Targaryen characters have their individual moments on screen. This is important because Daenerys is really the only Targaryen people have been able to really enjoy on camera. Now that we have an entire family of Targaryens, and Rhaenyra is the only character like herself, it's such a disappointment. Her character is being changed now because she's the one that's very different than her family members. So not only does Rhaenyra have a parallel to Sansa, she's also a kind of anti-parallel character from Aemond. Aemond and Rhaenyra started off in very similar situations. They were both introduced crying to their mothers about feeling bad and being treated differently because they don't have a dragon. The more the episodes go on, the further they move apart, that Aemond and Rhaenyra drift into two different roles in life. Aemond immediately wants to get bigger, and he has a big win from the beginning, but his life goes downhill while the dance goes on. Rhaenyra is moving in a completely opposite direction because she's starting off with losing everything like her mother. She hatched a dragon at a young age, but the dragon immediately died. Her grandmother dies. And her family is falling apart, and unlike Aemond, who is right next to his family being a part of the chaos and drama, Rhaenyra is out of the way, and she's very isolated. However, the more the story goes on, the more that Rhaenyra seems to get what she wants and wins, her patience being rewarded. She ends up having a healthy, long, happy life. Complete opposite of Aemond. So, for people who have not read the book Fire and Blood, Nettles is actually hunting down Aemond with Daemon, and after what I just explained, I feel like it's pretty obvious why it kind of ruins the paralleled symbolism if Rhaenyra is drastically changed. If they want Aemond and Rhaenyra to interact, there's a better way to go about that. Another thing from the book is that Daemon and Nettles has an inappropriate relationship. Obviously, Daemon is a married man, but he's also very old. He is allegedly taking naked baths with Nettles and spoiling her, and she's sleeping in his bed. So they obviously have an affair, and we have no reason to think that Daemon is sleeping with Rhaenyra, especially when Rhaenyra, her first husband, Corwyn Corbray, is in the Vale, and at this time she's supposed to be over there getting to know him and starting their relationship. This is where Daemon's end starts to come in, as essentially Rhaenyra is upset that Daemon is with Nettles. Obviously, Rhaenyra knows who Nettles is and has seen her before. She knows that this is not his daughter, and he hears the reports of them being in an affair. She wants Nettles dead. Daemon is protective of Nettles, and for the first time in his entire life, we see him going above and beyond for someone that is not his immediate family, and without him benefiting from it. He sends Nettles away to protect her from Rhaenyra, and he goes off to his death because he understands the implications of what he did. This is the most important reason why Rhaena and Nettles cannot be the same person. Daemon changed up his entire way of thinking for this girl who completely goes against his ideas of Valyrian blood supremacy has achieved so much, despite having nothing that they were born with. Daemon's interest in Nettles is the reason why she's always with him to begin with, Nettles having no Valyrian blood yet. Claiming Sheepstealer would be the first reason why he's intrigued by her. She also has a similar personality to Bella, and of course we know that this is the personality that Daemon favors to begin with, and he likes to spend time with Nettles the same way he liked to spend time with Bella when she was younger. Rhaena and Nettles are also not the same age. I believe Nettles is 17 while Rhaena is 14. Yes, the characters generally in this universe are treated as grown-ups at a young age, but Nettles is technically an adult while Rhaena is considered more of a younger girl. Post-dance, Rhaena has a symbolism for now being the only character riding around on a dragon, and this dragon is not being used for battles. Unlike Sheepstealer, Mourning clearly is not an aggressive dragon because she's being carried all over King's Landing while she's little, and when she's bigger she's flying, without harming anyone. Queen Rhaenyra, who is very happy to see Mourning, is not afraid of her. Obviously, there's been a ton of death, and the dragon's name is Mourning, so Mourning meaning a new dawn, a new era for the Targaryens. But also mourning as in they just lost a bunch of family members and they're grieving. Sheepstealer, the dragon, has a totally different personality. Obviously, the reason why so many people struggled to claim Sheepstealer is that he's aggressive. And this is another reason why people were so in awe that Nettles claimed Sheepstealer. This is clearly not the type of dragon the Rhaena can fly around without issue. There was a storming of the dragon pits during the dance, and a good reason why Mourning has to be smaller and not threatening is that when Rhaena arrived to King's Landing with her dragon, the small folk who were at first upset about the danger of dragons and the destruction that they cause suddenly is cheering on Rhaena and Mourning. They think Mourning is just beautiful and amazing, and they clearly don't feel afraid. We also got in Season 1 that the Green Sea Targaryens having dragons as a sign of legitimacy, especially Alicent, Otto, and Aemond. Another narrative importance in Rhaena hatching Mourning is that while the Black team is losing dragons, losing legitimacy, Rhaena births a new sign of legitimacy for her team by hatching a dragon and being the only one to do so. Aegon also tried to do this, but was not capable. The dragon seeds had to claim theirs while Rhaena hatched and raised hers. Despite being young now, Rhaena is actually a very maternal character, always looking after her little siblings, looking after Corwyn Corbray's young daughters, and then moving on to have 5 daughters herself. It fits in line perfectly for her to actually raise a dragon on her own and essentially mother it. If we can't see Rhaena on screen taking care of her dragon, well, it's very young. I think they really takes away from her characterization. Obviously, another character that Rhaena is linked with is Daenerys, who also has 3 dragon's eggs and raises the dragon instead of claiming. So I understand that actually all the dragons need to die in order to set up that the dance was destructive to House Targaryen, and Rhaena is the last dragon rider. Then eventually we move on to Daenerys as being the first dragon rider since the dance hundreds of years earlier. If HBO decides they are doing this because they want to kill off Sheepstealer in order to show that the surviving dragons, which includes a Sheepstealer, actually died, and they want to end with all dragons dead, so people don't create theories, they can go about doing this without giving Sheepstealer to Rhaena, especially like having Nettles getting attacked by Vhagar and Sheepstealer, dying by Nettles surviving, or Nettles having a separate battle away from Daemon, and again, Sheepstealer still dying, but Nettles should survive. So these are my thoughts on how important it is for the characters of Rhaena and Nettles to be adapted correctly as 2 different characters. I'll probably make more videos on this because Rhaena is one of my favorite show characters so far, and Nettles is the character that just brings so much to the ending of the dance. It can't be understated how important she is. I'll probably be making videos soon on how I think Rhaena will possibly be unburnt like Daenerys, Nettles' symbolism as Mother Nature, and updated theories on where the show takes Rhaena's character. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell me what you think in the comments.